Sila lumen omentielvo. A star shines on the hour of our meeting.
Before the children of Ilúvatar took their first breath, before the mountains had names, before even the sun and moon had risen, there was war, a war not of men, nor orcs, nor kings, but of gods. It is said that in the beginning, Arda was a song. The world was born of harmony, crafted by the Valar with care and purpose. Ulmo shaped the seas, Aula forged the bones of the earth, Yavanna planted green upon the hills, Varda placed the stars in the sky. The world was still young, fragile, raw, beautiful, untouched by time, unspoiled by darkness. But even then, the shadow moved. Melkor, now named Morgoth, had fallen. He, who was once the mightiest of the Valar, now stood in defiance of all creation. He did not come to share in the shaping of Arda. He came to unmake it. He stirred the fires below the mountains. He unleashed cold where there was light. He raised fortresses in the north, dark, cruel, silent. And from them, his will began to poison the world. The Valar watched and waited, hoping he would return to wisdom. But the silence became storm, and hope turned to ash. And so, the peace of the world was broken. This is the tale of that breaking, of the first war ever fought in Middle-earth, a war of flame and ice, of glory and ruin, of music turned to thunder. In this episode of the Valinor Archives, we reveal how the war of the Valar against Morgoth shattered the world before it ever truly began. This is the First War. This is when the world was broken, before the first blade was drawn, before the first cry of battle echoed through the mountains. Arda was a place of wonder. The Valar had descended into the world to shape what they had once sung. Their music had become matter. Their vision had become form. Each Valar took to their calling. Ulmo, Lord of Waters, filled the deeps and carved rivers through stone. Aula, Master of Craft, raised the mountains and formed the very bones of the world. Yavanna planted forests, painted fields with wildflowers, and taught the trees to stretch toward the stars. Varda hung the lights in the sky, crafting constellations with care, each one a beacon of hope. Orome roamed the untamed wilds, his horn echoing over empty plains. Nienna wept over the world with love, and where her tears fell, healing bloomed. The world was alive with movement and balance. The seas danced with the wind, the hills rolled gently beneath golden skies, and though there was no sun, the stars were enough, silver fires in the vastness. The Valar worked not alone, but in unity. Their powers intertwined like threads in a tapestry, each action complementing the other. Harmony was not just a goal, it was the essence of their labor. Even the silence had song. Even the stillness shimmered with purpose. And so the world unfolded, piece by piece. There were no cities, no kingdoms, only the raw beauty of a world in its dawn, untouched, unscarred. Time moved differently then, if it moved at all. And yet, even in this early paradise there was unease. For Morgoth had also come, and though he did not build, he unwound. Where the others shaped, he tore. Where they softened, he hardened. Where they gave, he took. Still, the Valar hesitated to act. They remembered who he once was, but every quiet sunrise became more clouded. Every mountain raised was shadowed by ice. Every forest planted was watched by unseen eyes. And somewhere in the north, something dark was stirring. The world was still whole, but it was no longer at peace. The breaking did not begin with swords, it began with silence, with absence, with ice where warmth should be and shadow where stars should shine. Melkor had moved north, quietly, deliberately. There, beyond the reach of the other Valar, he began to build, not with care or beauty, but with iron and fire. He raised Utumno, the Black Pit. A fortress not of stone, but of hatred. Its halls stretched deep into the earth. Its gates glowed with molten fire. Its walls drank light and returned only cold. In that place, he gathered to himself spirits once fair. He twisted their forms, he fed their fears, and he forged his first army, not of orcs, not yet, but of flame and malice. Among them, the greatest would come to be known as the Balrogs, Maiar of fire, now cloaked in terror. While the Valar shaped valleys, Melkor sent frost. While Yavanna grew forests, he summoned flame to consume them. He cracked the new mountains, he poisoned the seas with boiling wrath. The world screamed, but the Valar waited. Still, they hoped. Still, they remembered his voice in the music. But then, Melkor struck openly. Winds became howling storms. Volcanoes erupted with unnatural fury. Great beasts of shadow and smoke were unleashed upon the earth. Arda groaned beneath the weight of his defiance. Ulmo's waters fought to cool the fire. Aule's mountains crumbled and were reshaped. Orome's woods became hunting grounds for terror. Even the stars of Varda were dimmed by smoke and ash. Lorien's dreams turned restless. Esta's healing was overwhelmed. Nienna's tears fell more heavily, soaking the ground in sorrow. The balance was broken. Still, the Valar hesitated. They were guardians, not tyrants. They were creators, not conquerors. To go to war was to admit the world was no longer whole. But Melkor gave them no choice. The First War had begun, not with declaration, but with desecration. The music of the Ainur had become a battlefield, and all of Arda trembled. The Valar rose, not in haste, but in resolve. They had watched long enough. Now the world cried out. From the west came their host, not with armies of men or beasts, but with thunder and flame, water and stone. Tulkas, the champion, came last, but with laughter in his breath and fury in his fists. He would be the first to strike Melkor without fear. Orome blew his horn, and it echoed through the mountains, shaking the skies and stirring courage. Ulmo summoned the oceans. His waves swallowed fire and flood. Aule tore stone from stone, crafting weapons of the earth itself. Varda's light fell from the stars like spears, piercing the black mist of Utumno. The war was not swift. It shook the world to its roots. Mountains rose and fell in a single day. Forests burned, rivers turned to steam. The sky itself cracked with lightning drawn from the bones of the heavens. The clash of divine wills reshaped Arda. No part of the world was untouched. Islands sank. Oceans bled into mountains. Landscapes were unmade as swiftly as they had been sung. Still, Melkor stood, unyielding, raging, alone. He summoned fire that screamed, winds that tore, and beasts that knew no death. But the Valar pressed on. Even Namo stood in judgment. Even Nienna wept. And then came Tulkas, unshaken. He struck Melkor down, and for the first time, the Dark Lord fled. Melkor was bound. Utumno was broken. The world was saved. But it was no longer the same. The First War had reshaped Arda. The land bore scars deeper than stone. Oceans covered what was once forest. Mountains now stood where there was once plain. And beneath it all, echoes of fire still burned. The Valar had won, but they did not rejoice. They had come to shape, not to destroy. And now, the world was both beautiful and broken. They saw what war had cost, and so they withdrew. In the west, they built Valinor, a land of peace untouched by shadow. There they would prepare. There they would wait. But evil had not been erased, only silenced. Melkor was gone, but not forgotten. And far in the east, where stars still watched in silence, the children of Ilúvatar had not yet awakened. The story is far from over. At the Valinor Archives, we preserve these ancient echoes so they may not be lost. Subscribe to the channel, share your thoughts, and stand with us as we continue to trace the light and the shadow through the ages of Arda. Because the next war will not be the last.